Welcome, Frida, and your husband, I think, who you're doing this together with in your cast.
Yeah, yes, we are co-founders. He's getting the kids ready for school, unfortunately, so it had to be one of us this morning.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Thank you and welcome to the Steward Circle. We have another steward who just came in, and his name is Adrie van Kampen. Adrie is probably on the other side, as Isabel called it. Well, that sounds a little bit strange on the other side. But so as soon as I see him coming in, then he will introduce himself. And then we have several stewards in the, let's say, pipeline, as we call it. It sounds maybe a little bit unpersonal, but we are growing the stewards group to 50. Now that will take maybe one more month, and then we are at 50. At the same time, as all of you know, we are growing because the stewards have a bond, a loan to us, and we also have founding members in the cooperative, and that is not a bond, that is more profit rights, maybe a little bit of a higher risk, and we have about 30 now in the pipeline. We have about 10 finalized, so there is a lot of enthusiasm for people to become a founding member. Marcello and I have said basically these two groups are the inner circle of what we're trying to build. So you are really for us the team that we want to do this together with. The one thing I should explain to you a little bit about the difference, because there are some stewards that also became a founding member. So there is about 5 now that are both a steward and a founding member, like, for example, Christoph, who's in this call, and several others. We have offered to you, and I mentioned that, but it should have been also in your mail, but you never know where it landed. But we have offered to all the stewards, and we still do that you can, if you wish, convert your bond into let's say a founding membership in the cooperative. About 6 of you have said that they are interested to do that. It is an easy transformation from one to the other. So if you would be interested to at least talk about it or think about that, feel free. It's all up to you. It basically does not matter so very much, but we want to offer everybody that opportunity. But what I said, some of you have both stayed a steward and became a founding member, so they do both. And there, of course, there are some new people who only are a founding member. So that is a group that we also invite, and Marcello will talk more about that later, to our Nijrode event on November 22nd, when we are at Nijrode with our group of inner circle people. We will come back to that later. I still don't see Adrie van Kampen here, who should have been here, but to introduce himself, I don't see him on the list. So on the agenda, we have said that Marcello and I, would give you an update of what is going on. So I will start, and then I will pass it over to Marcello to explain to you what we are up to. As I said, we are now really speeding up. To some of you, we're already going at a pretty fast pace, but we're now doing it even faster. And the interesting thing for you to know is that basically the character of the organization that we're building has changed from event organizing to basically a going concern, which is on a daily basis. So we are not focusing on one event and then the next event and then the next event, but we are setting up an organization that is working with members and active members. So also there, I would like to explain a little bit what that means. A cooperative has members. Most of you, I think, know that. It's a legal structure, cooperative. It's not an informal organization, so it's a legal organization, a legal structure. And that means that somebody who becomes a member has to sign a membership agreement. And that is a small document that has made it's not so difficult, but it has to be made. And when people sign that, they become a co-owner and they have one vote. Every member has one vote. So a founding member has one vote. Doesn't matter how much he or she has invested, you still have one vote. Marcello has one vote. I have one vote. So we have two types of members, basically. We have founding members and active members. Actually, founding members are also active, but so if legally we only have one type of membership in a legal sense, and that is called a member. So it's not very difficult. What we have done now is we have a large group of people, basically around 23,000 in our system that we are talking to, and about 10,000 more to be added after the summit. So we have about 30,000, a little bit more than 30,000 people that we know. So it's not people that are strangers, but it's people that are in our network and that we know. And we are now have started to approach them one by one, which is quite a lot of work. So we have set that up in a pretty structural way, and we approach them one by one to explain what it means to be a member or an active member or a founding member. And a member is somebody who is in our network. So basically all our people are members. Marcello and I nominated all of them to become a member. They don't sign a membership agreement. They're not co-owner. Only the active members who pay an annual fee are a member in a legal sense. So that is what we explain to everybody. We tell them what they get. We tell them what we're doing. And I can tell you that after the first, let's say, tens or hundreds of calls, the enthusiasm with the people that we call is like with you. It's phenomenal. It's not surprising, I would say, but it is very warming and very helpful to see how everybody really wants to move in the same direction. So we are working on that. Francine and her team is working on an onboarding, and Adri and Marjolein, who are two new people in the team, are doing what we call the welcome and activation program, because we want to make all those members not only call themselves an active member, but also be active in the network. So that is what we are doing. Those two streams have our main attention. Marcello is focusing more on the founding members. I'm focusing more on the active members. Of course, we also interact together. We do both, but that's where our main focus lies. As I said, we have about 23,000 people in the network and 10,000 to be added. We have them in a system that is called Salesforce, and we work with that as a basis. And on the top of that, we are working with another system which is called Mighty Networks, which is the platform where we do the onboarding and where the members come in to the network, basically. So they have a place where they can go, where they feel welcome, and where they can meet others. So as you can imagine, building up that whole systems organization is quite time consuming and also very important, because we don't want to make mistakes with people, and so we are setting that whole system up. We have done that basically over the summer period. So July and August, we have spent a lot of time on setting up the systems, the people that I just mentioned the names, and the procedures. So because we have to be very careful on the legal procedures. So in the back office, we have a document system which is called PandaDoc, where all the active members sign their documents and also the founding members, and the documents come in. It's like it's a very short kind of formalistic approach, because we have to make sure that we do everything in the right way. We are sitting literally with our team in the office of a law firm in Utrecht on the top floor, and that law firm has helped us. It's also B Corp, by the way, B van de V, BVDV, who helped us to set up the whole cooperative system. So finally, what I can say, and then hand it over to you, Marcello, is that we have created two companies as daughter companies. One is a 20% ownership that the cooperative now has in a company called B Gifts. That's products of B Corps and related companies that are being sold and are being handed out and given away. So that is a company that we have helped set up. And we have 100% as a cooperative ownership in what we call the Regenerative Economy Exchange, REX Exchange. And that is what we will tell you more about at 8 o'clock when Adri will tell you what that means and what we're doing. And we would like to discuss that a little bit to you. Having said all this information to you, I hope you can grasp it a little bit. We are also now recording this session. I hope you don't have anything against that for the people who could not make it, and we can send them this recording. So maybe I pass it over to you now, Marcello, because I have tried to give an overview of everything that's happening, but it's not nearly half of what we're doing. So Marcello, please take the floor and describe a little bit more.
Well, thank you very much, Lane. Great to see everybody. So the big picture, as we shared with you in Amsterdam, is creating a cooperative of 100,000 leaders that's disruptive entrepreneurs, mindful executives, and impact investors. These are for us the real change makers in the world towards a more regenerative economy. We have, as Lane said, about 33,000 already, name by name, person by person in our database. This is B Corps, other companies that have the highest standards of impact and ESG, etc. And there we work also with networks. I was very briefly in Paris. I saw Manuel Faber with ISSB. We're trying to see if we can link with some of those companies, big companies, multinationals. So creating this community, this cooperative, which has never been done before. It's really, it's the first time in the world. Of course, there have been cooperatives, but bringing people together from all around the world that are working on the same purpose, mission, creating a new economy. And we are fortunate, Lane and I, of course, with all of you, that we have met many of these people over the years, and of course, younger people too. So where we are now is, to add, in a way, the engine of this cooperative is the exchange. So the exchange is a marketplace where the companies that are listed on the exchange can offer their products and services. And that is not only internal, but also external to buyers and customers. It could be a city, it could be a major hospital, a multinational that wants to supply products, source products from companies that have the highest standards. Now, such a marketplace doesn't exist for this purpose. Johannes, you may know, I had a chat with Charlie Kleisner a few days ago, and Charlie is helping me because he obviously has a lot of experience in e-commerce. He was in several e-commerce companies over the years. So we've been kind of developing a concept together, or at least evolving our concept with him. So we see this as a very important piece of creating an economic foundation, and more importantly, that's where the action is. If all of us and our companies really make a point of sourcing products from companies that have the highest standards, including, of course, public procurement, cities, etc., that can make a big difference. And the cooperative earns 2.5% of all the transactions. So we have, of course, a business model, and we charge 2.5% for transactions. So that's going very well. I think later on, Bas van Zoutwijk will explain a bit more about that. How many, I think we have over 10,000 companies already in the exchange. So I'll leave it to Bas to say. Two more things. One is, I mentioned it earlier, but some of you were not present. Yesterday, I had a very surprising meeting with a big company in Amsterdam who were so inspired by the summit. They decided to create a 100 million euro impact fund, 10% of their profits for 10 years, which will be announced shortly in the new year. And they also want to inspire other companies, it's a B Corp, to do the same. So basically, out of the blue, conversations that happened at the summit that's a decision they made. It's a big thing, 100 million euro in impact and the potential to get many more companies to do that. And then finally, because we had a very strong finance track at both the summit in Amsterdam and in Rome, with people like Herman Mulder and Vivina Berla and others, that came out of the finance track. And there were at least 2 investments we know that also happened. One in Good Wings, which is the decarbonizing company. And the other, which I don't think is finalized yet, is another Dutch company. I won't name it now. And this is just basically beginning to harvest. This is what I'm doing every day, is talking to people who came to the summit and others who did not come to the summit, like Charlie Kleisner. He was founder of Tonic, very enlightened impact investor, to basically see and feel and know what are they doing, what they've been doing with the others they have met. And everyone was really inspired, and everyone is looking forward now to the next summit in May. Final thing, because this is really part of what I do and what I love doing, is to connect with these people. I also yesterday had a meeting with Corinne Vigreau, who is the co-founder of TomTom. TomTom, is the navigation company. And she loved the idea. I mean, I threw a couple of ideas to her. Imagine if you could do a mapping of all the companies in the world that have the highest standards of impact. And she really loved the idea. And I think I'm going to go and see her team to discuss that. And TomTom would like to be part of the summit. They will be hosting things for us, et cetera, et cetera. So it is, as Bill Clinton used to say, every vote counts. So every person counts. So every person in our network is a treasure of information, of wisdom, of experience. So that's really what I do every day, is connect with these people. And basically, it's not even selling anything. It's just basically inviting them, sharing what we are doing as a group of leaders who are really serious about creating a new economy. And, things like a 100 million euro fund proves that this is real stuff, This is not just a nice, inspiring summit, but people are really doing amazing things. So I leave it at that. It's also, I leave it at that lane. I can, of course, come back with other things later. And I see that maybe a couple more people have joined. So
yeah,
wonderful to be with you. Thanks. Thanks, Lane.
Thank you, Marcello. I see, as I promised earlier to all of you, that we would announce the new stewards. I see that Adrie has joined, Adrie van Kampen, who became also a new steward. So maybe, Adrie, you can briefly introduce yourself.
Yeah, it's good, Lane. I'm sorry I'm a bit late. I was in the wrong Zoom meeting, but finally I managed to join this meeting. My name is Adrie. I'm married, 3 kids, 2 daughters, 1 son. The daughters are already working, son is still studying. Living in the Netherlands, near to the coast, where I can do my favorite hobby, that's cycling. My other hobbies are playing padel, tennis. Occasionally I play some golf. And 2 months ago, Lane asked me to have a cup of coffee. And maybe when Lane asks you for a coffee, after the coffee your life is upside down. So it was. He asked me to join the Business for Good leaders, and that's what I did. I'm responsible for getting active members in, together with Marjolein. But because I was so impressed about the great goals of the Business for Good leaders, I decided to be a steward myself. Before all of this, I had a few companies for training, sales management training, interim management, recruitment. But I'm now fully committed to this great initiative. So I'm very happy to join you all, and I hope to get a chance to meet you in person as well.
Yeah, well, thank you very much, Adrie. I wanted to say, because it's basically your words inspire me to say that you can see Lane and I want to have the best, most sophisticated system, which doesn't exist. If you're a member of other networks or the Chamber of Commerce or other inspiring, it's really hard to find a professionally run organization with the best people. And we see there is a real need and a real opportunity. So that's why people like Adri are very, very important to us.
Yeah. Having said that, Marcello, that's completely right. As you all know, we need all of you badly because you're all experienced. You all have experience in different fields, and that is what we need. And that automatically brings me to the agenda point for you to speak, and so that not Marcello and I speak all the time and fill an hour and a half talking to you, but to put the question back to you. First of all, are there any questions or things that you would like to ask or say about what we just informed you about? And the second question is, how do you see your role? I will come back to that later when we talk about the retreat that we had at the end of August with 5 stewards and a part of our team. So we will report to you about that later. So the question is, first, are there any questions or remarks that you want to make? And the second is, how do you see a role for yourself? So maybe I can give the word to any one of you who wants to. And Isabel, I will ask you later to say a little bit more about our retreat.
I think Leslie has a hand up.
Yeah, Leslie, go ahead. Leslie?
You're mute.
Leslie, you're on mute. We see the hand, but and now a finger.
I think
But
she's
and you are in the car, so be careful that you don't hit another car while going to unmute yourself. But you are muted, so while you're doing that, are there any other hands, people that want to add something to? Okay, Thomas, go ahead. Thomas.
Okay, I'm really quite excited, especially with the exchange that you talk about, that these companies can put their services and products up. Question is that you are recruiting like tens of thousands and potentially 100,000 companies to be on this exchange. Is there any due diligence being done? Because everybody can claim to be a good company making good products, right? So is this self-proclaimed, or is there some kind of due diligence?
Well, I mean, if I may say a quick response, and then of course Lane can add and so on. First of all, we start with certified B Corps, naturally, because that's a bit where we come from, and we love B Corps and so on. Secondly, there are quite a number of good, say, B Corps on the way, B Corps in waiting, as we call them. And some of them already score very highly. So together with B Lab, we are doing that and finding out who these companies are. Thirdly, very importantly, is that when Lynn and I started B Lab Europe, the first thing we did, we went to the people we knew. So we went to the CEO of Triodos or Danone and so on. So it's the personal relationships that we have, and you have, and you can help us, of course, in that direction. And then finally to say, with Faber, I spoke about ISSB. Not all the companies that use the standards in ISSB are necessarily to be included, but we will have to select them, and maybe we'll create a sort of a small circle of leaders who can help in case of controversial. But the core for us is to have the best companies, because otherwise it will fail our purpose.
And before I go to Herman, I see, Herman, your hand, and maybe we'll go to try back to the other hands. What I can add, it's a very valid question, Thomas, first of all. It's not difficult at this moment in time, at the beginning, because then we work with companies that we know, and then and we start with people. So we are an organization of people, not an organization of companies. So that makes it a little bit easier, Thomas, because we know many people, you know many people, so you can recommend people. So starting with people, an organization of people, makes it a little bit more easy. But we will get to a point, no doubt about that, Thomas, that we have to set some kind of regulation or testing or a committee that helps to make sure that we don't bring the wrong people in. And one thing is for sure, Thomas, if we grow to those large numbers, there will be little mistakes maybe made, that people are in a gray area. So having said that, Herman.
Well, first of all, Lane and Marcello, congratulations. This is a perfect wake-up call for all of us, at least in Europe. I mean, you really get us excited, and congratulations on the progress you have made. And I'm sure I'm speaking for everyone. I have a specific question which relates to the diversity in our community. And I can see that there is an opportunity also to engage with the public sector, who are very much instrumental in creating the environment for business and for startups, but also for NGOs to step up on the shared agenda. And my question is, and I raised it earlier with you, is how do you feel about inviting representatives at the level we are talking about into our community? Because I think if we can get leading politicians or public sector officials who have the Achim Steiners of the world, to name one, but there are many others who may have a crucial role to create the environment in all the countries and in the global institutions where we can thrive with the B Corps and with the community we are creating.
Yeah. Well, Herman, thank you very much. I mean, I love it, and I have personally been working a lot in public-private partnerships and with the UN and with governments. I think that the answer is yes, but carefully so, and ideally the best of the best. You suggested earlier, you can introduce some. I mean, we are now in the Netherlands. We may have a new prime minister, maybe Frans Timmermans, I don't know, but someone like Frans Timmermans who passed the Green Deal is somebody whom we should have. People at that level. And of course, it could be younger people, I mean, actually, there should be younger people as well. So by all means, I think on the whole, we try to have like 70% of us should really be in the economy, and then the 30% could be politicians, of course, some leading thought leaders, but somehow all related to the economy, because we want to focus on the economy. So let's do it.
And Marcello, I see the question now from Leslie. Leslie is in the car. She cannot unmute, so please stop trying that, Leslie, because then you get into an accident. But her question is, how can we inspire others than only the people who are already part of the choir, which is a question that very often is heard. Part of that, Leslie, has been answered in the former questions and answers, but you are right. We are really now first bringing in the people that we know, so part of the choir, and so but then the choir should should work in what we call multi-level marketing. That is, multi-level marketing is a term that Herman, for example, brings in his context. Marcello brings in you, Leslie, and all the others. So that is a question that we have asked to the people at the summit. At the summit, we have said to people, take this piece of paper from your chair and write down your name on one side, and on the other side, how many people you would like to introduce. And that is a list now of 10,000 people. That we are now a lot of work to bring them in, but they are people that are one step further away, and then we will keep expanding that, and automatically we will get to people from companies that you maybe, as you write question in your question, Leslie, you say, should we try to bring the naysayers along, thinking oil and gas companies? Well, we hear that question more often. What Marcello and I always say is we are basically an organization of people, of leaders. So that means that sometimes you say we see a leader here that is really working very hard to bring his or her company in a different direction. So we should help him or her. And then when the organization is not always there yet. So and that is how we are widening our circle, but it's definitely a very important observation that you make, Leslie, in your question. Are there any other remarks or questions that I can collect from any one of you? I see no.
Well, but I would like to say, Lane, in answer to what Leslie is asking, there are definitely limits, I mean, some companies, it's not our job to help Shell, So we do have limits, but on the other hand, there is a gray space, and there are several ways of helping those companies. This is also a bit the extended vision that Lene and I have beyond B Corps. So we would say it's B Corps and beyond. So we also want to have other companies. And when we started with Danone, in 2015, it was not by all means clear that Danone would make it. I personally worked for 3 years with Sodexo, and it didn't succeed. Sodexo was not approved as a B Corp. So you have to give it a try, but you have, as Lane said, you have to look at people in the eyes. And I met the board of Sodexo. I met the chairwoman. These people who have very good intentions. So yeah, we have to try, but there are limits too. You know what I mean. Look at certain countries like Saudi Aramco or Russian oil companies. I think we should leave them where they are.
Yeah, there is a final question, and then I would like to go on to Bas to tell us a little bit about the regenerative economy exchange. And there is a question from Johannes, and he said, we are stewards. What is our relationship to the cooperative? Well, first of all, don't worry about, first of all, I don't think you worry about it, Johannes, but you are what we call the inner circle. So with the stewards, you are the first group of people who stepped up and have skin in the game and help us, like Marcello and I have also done. So do we have to sign a new membership agreement? Yes, but it's not because we, of course, bring you automatically into the cooperative. The cooperative owns the BV, so it is basically one unit cooperative, and where you are a steward in the BV. We started as a BV. We didn't have a cooperative a year and a half ago, so we started as a BV, Be for Good Leaders BV, which is 100% owned and completely integrated in the cooperative. But we will come to you all individually, and with this document, it's a membership agreement, as in any membership agreement. It's a simple agreement, pretty straightforward, but we will come to all of you with that, and it doesn't have any, and it doesn't need any other things than from you from a financial perspective. So we will come to you, Johannes, and all the others with that pretty soon. We are now feeling that you're already in our inner circle, so we are focusing basically on people that we promise to bring in as well. Having said that, I would like to introduce to you a person that is in the call. His name is Bas Zuidwijk. Bas, maybe you can describe your background and then do your presentation on the REX.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Lane. Hi, everybody. My name is Bas, and I am the chief of a small tribe of artificial intelligence specialists. So we are going to talk about the regenerative economy exchange, or the REX, as we call it internally. But first, to start with, amongst the billions of people who inhabit this earth, there is a global population of about 800 million people who we classify as cultural creatives. And we're talking about people who value authenticity, who want to be involved in the whole process, where they can be part of something from the beginning. Globalists who take a worldview instinctively, knowing everything is connected and everything connects, and who also reject the constant need to just own more stuff, and who are openly critical to governments and big institutions. So we are talking about people who are driven by the desire to become a role model and leave a legacy to the world. So amongst these 800 million people of cultural creatives, we find a potentially huge community of ethical leaders. And all these people, of course, are part of a global network of leaders whose ambition is to use business as a force for good. Well, are they? Are they part of a global network of leaders? How can these people find each other? how can they connect with each other? Okay, you may say, well, Bas, they've got LinkedIn to find each other and to connect. LinkedIn? No way. What is LinkedIn anyway? An open platform where just anybody can shout, hey, pick me, I'm the best, work with me, I'm so green, hire me, I will save humanity. No, guys, LinkedIn won't work. Why not? Well, because first and foremost, we are talking about the authenticity. What we need is an environment to host a community of like-minded people, the Be for Good leaders, a platform where people connect to people who they can trust, who share similar convictions, where they can share knowledge, products, capital, to empower each other to make the world a better place together. Well, as I said, I am the chief of a small tribe of AI specialists, and our tribe has decided that we commit ourselves to build, I should rather say to be that regenerative economy exchange. So what we have done together with Lane and with Marcello, we have established a new company, the REX, the Regenerative Economy Exchange. And with the REX, we are developing that platform for that community of impact-driven leaders to bring together supply and demand of knowledge, products, capital in a trusted environment of like-minded leaders who want to use their business as a force for good. So over the past 8 months, since the beginning of this year approximately, we have been researching, we've been prototyping, we've been building, we've been testing many functionalities and features that we believe offer the Be for Good leaders the ultimate experience to connect, to share, and to make deals together. So let me just give you a sneak preview of what is coming. And I will share my screen with you. Let's see. I have to get organized. Screen sharing. Yes, that's the one I want to share. So if everything's all right, you will see the internet browser with the login portal to the exchange. So I'll just log in with my mail address. And there we are. What you see here is the homepage of the exchange. It's all preliminary at the moment. We are still developing, we are testing, we are working with test users to get a good feel on how they think it should work and how we've built it. So once you're in the exchange, and let's just say, I want to get in touch with a leader who knows about helping immigrants. Can I get in touch with their CEO? Well, of course you can. Let's just check out. What are you looking for? I'm looking for somebody who can tell me anything about immigrants. And there we see, for instance, NGen. NGen is a company in the US, and I can get in touch with their CEO, Justin Hayashi. So I can reach out to him. I can reach out and say, hey, okay, can we talk about whatever I need to know from him? So let's not forget, it's all about business for good. So there are deals to be made in this project. We are talking about business, and when we're talking about business, we're talking about helping each other, making deals together. So this is a way to get in touch with somebody who can help me with knowledge or product or capital or what I'm looking for. So what you do is we create these deals. For instance, I've made here an example of that I'm looking for a fashion graphic designer to start fashion. So this is what the deal looks like. And I immediately get advised certain companies, impact-driven companies, who can help me with my question. So I can select this company and get in touch with their owner, Alexandra Canero. So it's not just that you ask your question, but you also get proactively already suggest people who you can get in contact with to help you with your deal. This is one of the functionalities we're working on right now. The community is not just about who's in it already, but also who can we attract to become more impactful. So one of the features we also developed is that you can suggest new members to join the community. Of course, as was mentioned in the questions earlier before, we also have to do some kind of due diligence to make sure that the people that are entering the new community are also driven by similar desires we aspire to, that they're actually impact leaders who want to use business for good. But it's not just, and of course you can also work on your profile. We are working now on a new chat function that you can add your questions also in complete natural language. So this is what we're working on right now with the platform. And we are aiming to be live in January 2024, so in only 4 months. But it's not just the platform we've been working on. And I'll stop sharing my screen so you can see my face again. Oh. Yes, there I am again. It's not just the platform we've been working on. Using our technologies and algorithms, we have also been identifying thousands of leaders of organizations worldwide, impact-driven organizations, for instance, the B Corps, creating a huge and validated database of potential members for the B for Good Leaders community. And right now we have found over 12,000 impact-driven corporations and organizations, and we have extracted about 30,000 impact-driven leaders from them that we can contact and that we can approach by using the team of Adrie and Marjolein. So there's already a huge part that we can do to get more people into the community, get more people on the exchange. So for the 4 months from now, September, October, November, December, we will further develop, implement and test the first fully operational version of the exchange, launching in January. And it has definitely been an exciting ride so far, and we look forward to delighting the world in just a few months with an unprecedented and groundbreaking platform for business as a force for good, the regenerative economy exchange. So that's
maybe
what I
you
want to
can
talk
say,
about.
thank you, Bas. Maybe you can say a little bit about the simplicity of the user interface that you want to make.
Yeah, well, one of the things I just showed you the functionalities we've been developing so far, and one of the challenges is to make it as accessible and easy to use as possible. For instance, when you're talking about an Apple product, you know something, you have to touch something. That's very clear. When we're talking about Google, you have to fill in what you search and hit a button. It's very clear and simple. And the challenge now is to bring the exchange functionality into a very accessible and easy to use interface. So we are working on, and that's, I couldn't show it to you yet because it's offline now, but especially a chat function where you can just enter in your own natural language what you are looking for, who you want to be in contact with, what kind of products you need, what kind of technology you need, what kind of knowledge you're looking for. And the system will automatically analyze and match you with the right people who can help you. So that's the main challenge we are facing now, and that's what we're working on.
Yeah, Bas, thank you very much. And to all of you, there must be questions, so please feel free to ask them. I know Thomas is working in this field. He can.
Yeah, I see some people in the chat also.
Yeah, I see that Mistelli, Veronique wants to be one of the testing partners. They are specialized also in user interfaces.
Oh, great.
I know that Thomas is also in that field. Johannes says something Maybe Johannes, you can pose your question.
Yeah, I see the question from Johannes Order.
Yes, good morning. Yeah, the question was, it's wonderful, Bas, great work you do. And I think if we get a LinkedIn for Be for Good leaders, we're on the right track. And I just put in the question, if I'm looking for supporters for a new bank in Austria, for an impact bank, I could use this platform and ask if people would support me.
Yeah, definitely.
Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
Super.
Yeah, that's what it's for, and we have already seen, Johannes, that that is one of the most exciting things to people to become a member of the Be for Good Leaders platform. That is because sometimes I think I'm going to talk to people, and Marcello and others, do you want to become a member? And I have a whole scenario prepared to speak to them, but as soon as I started and I say we connect you to all those other leaders, that is basically enough. That is the biggest desire. How can I connect to others, to learn, to become a better leader, as we have said, to become a better company, to create a better world? So are there any other questions to Bas?
Lisette has a hand.
Yes, Lisette, please.
Yeah, well, all the time I'm thinking about startups, because for the regenerative economy, there is so much energy in startups, and they don't have the finances often yet to become stewards. I'm also thinking in other countries, like in Africa, for instance, but also here. Can they easily become a member of the exchange, or is that kind of costly and time consuming?
Any member who becomes an active member has access to the exchange. Whether or not the cooperative wants to charge active members wants to charge members to become an active member, that's not up to the exchange people, not up to us, but up to the cooperative. But once you're an active member, you will have access to the exchange and everything it offers.
Yeah, it's a very good question, Lisette, and it should be as easy as this. So it should be a finger, how do you say that? Knip met je vingers to become, to be able to get into that exchange. So we should really try, and like we did at the summit, where we had a special program for people who we wanted to bring in from the Global South. As you have seen, we had over 100 people there that we sponsored to come. And that was it was much more work than we thought, Lisette. We thought people would jump up and be happy that they could finally come, but that was not how it worked. They were a little bit nervous. Can we come? What is the language that they speak? They wanted to pay themselves. They felt a little bit ashamed that they couldn't pay. But we have started that process, and that will also be continued in the exchange. It should be open to all. And by the way, Lisette, there is also not only the members can approach it, but what Marcello and I have also thought is that eventually when it's bigger, there are products and services and all kinds of stuff that basically could also be approached by, for example, the buyers group from Albert Heijn. If they say, well, we really want to now buy for our stores products that have a meaning and that are so they should also be able, they are not a member at all, but they should be able to come in, or Shell, who when they say we want to start buying sustainable goods and products, they can go there. For example, the Good Roll, toilet paper from bamboo. If Shell wants to use toilet paper from bamboo, they should also be able to buy. So it is they are not a member, they are not an active member, they cannot sell their products then, but they can enter it and they can buy the services and goods. So it is should be as open as possible, but at the same time be a very trusted environment where people know what they get. So thank you for your question.
Yeah, and one thing that when I was discussing with Charlie Kleisner the other day, he immediately said you could have cities or local agencies as clients of the exchange, and he was thinking immediately of something in Austria and in the United States where there is already a local regenerative economy being built. They could actually use our platform for their locality. So I think that we will find a lot of opportunities once the platform is up and running.
And any other questions to Bas?
Yeah, and this is Christoph here. So I think it makes a huge difference talking about products or services, right? I mean, on the products, it's a bit easier for me to imagine how it works, like an Amazon or whatever, but in a more trusted environment. And when it comes to services, an exchange between 10,000s of different individuals or corporates or whatever, it's a bit more difficult how to channel that and how to make sense of it. Because just by bringing everybody together doesn't necessarily mean that it's very easy to find somebody who really knows about that topic. If you get suddenly then, if you look for a topic and you find 500 different parties who have something to say about it, they need some kind of intelligence for this to work.
Yeah.
I don't have that intelligence, but I imagine that.
But that's the core functionality of the exchange basically is matching. How can we match the right people in the right region, in the right with the right experience together to fulfill the need that is there, whether the need is a product or a service or capital or knowledge or whatever. And that is where the artificial intelligence comes in to make that matching as good as possible.
What we
That's the challenge. Absolutely.
Yeah, what we to bring in that, Christoph, is certainly a valuable point. What we've also thought, and there is a lot of thinking still going on and designing, because we only are talking about version 1, and the version 1 in Facebook was only pictures that you could look at to find a date. So in that simplicity, we have to go back to our first version. But what we have also in the past 8 months thought is that you can have kind of a scoring, because as you say, Christoph, you're not interested to get 500 suggested people. You want to have 1 or 2. And that is with some intelligence behind it. So you can think about a kind of a scoring system, like you see, for example, in Uber, where over the past years, drivers have been scored, but also passengers. So who is a good driver and who is a good passenger? It's not the same for services. I realize that, but we are now thinking about how can you get a kind of a score. And we have started, and we will talk a little bit more about that later, together with the Regenerative Alliance, to have a kind of what we call a leadership impact assessment. B Corps work with a BIA, a B impact assessment, but we are now working with the Regenerative Alliance to make something that also measures people in a kind of a leadership impact assessment. So there are several ways that we can score, and that you don't get 500 suggested people on a service, but maybe the 5 best on the basis of something. So that is, we have to make it as intelligent and proactive as possible, so to make it better than LinkedIn. By the way, if you have questions later on, you want to talk about this, you want to help, you want to be part of the testing group, send an email to Marcello, to me, or to Bas, and we will connect you, because we really would like for you to be involved in this. With your permission, this brings us to the final 2 topics of this call, and one is the retreat that we had in Miac. Miac is in France. It's a little town of 200 people that we overpopulated with 12 more people from the Be for Good Leaders community. We invited 5 stewards to join us, and those stewards were Helle Liotot, Isabelle Grometre, Christophe Fauconnier, Eric Ezekieli from Lativa, and Benoit Greindl. And those 5 people took the time to travel all the way to this little town at the end of August to join our core team of 7. So we have a core team of 7 senior people that were there, and we spoke about all kinds of topics. But before I describe that to you, maybe Isabel, I see that Christoph is also here. I see you with your headphones sitting in the garden. Christoph, hi. Maybe Isabel, you and maybe Christoph can tell a little bit about what we did there.
Thank you very much, Lane. So, I felt very grateful to be part of this team end of August. And it was a moment for us to regroup and to really enable us to align on what was needed to thrive. And I really believe that Be for Good Leaders has all the ingredients to succeed. A lot of good vibes, must I say, and a great intention. I love the balance between the leaders for good and the cooperative with what was just explained on the exchange program. So thank you very much for putting this retreat together, and we look forward to the next step together. And the floor is yours, Christophe.
Yeah, the même chose, I would say. So just share our words. Had great tennis matches with Isabel along the way to every Tesla stop. But no, it was fantastic to see the energy. We're always amazed at the energy of the team, of Marcello and Lane and Francine. It's wonderful to see the momentum.
Yeah, thank you very much, Christophe, Isabel. What we did there, for all of your information, we had 3 days, and we spent the first day to talk about the vision. Are we on the right track? How can we make that vision more explicit? We spoke about branding. How can we do the branding and make it bring more rituals, more maybe spirituality to it? That is not a finished discussion. That will continue. Christophe brought in some of his knowledge and the knowledge of his company. We were also talking about the roles of the stewards. We really want to make all of you, if you have the time for it, so don't worry, we will not force you to have a more active role for the stewards, to have dinner meetings, for example, that are hosted by the stewards, not by Marcello and me. We cannot do it alone. We spoke about the LIA, the Leadership Impact Assessment. That is a tool that we can use from that came from the Regenerative Alliance. We talked about the trusted community that we want to build up. We spoke about, let's say, the larger community of all the members, and then the cooperative and the inner circle, so how that is growing and how we are building that out into the future. Maybe Marcello, you would like to add something about what came.
Yeah, I mean, I think in addition to what you said and what Isabella and Christophe said, it was a very good moment to see Adri, Bas, and Marjolein, who is not on this call. Marjolein and Adri are in charge of the members' desk and the personal outreach to all the members. It was a very good chance to have them connect with us and with the stewards. So there was basically, it wasn't just, high vision, high strategy, it was also operational. How do we actually on Monday start approaching this 10,000 and more, but that is the 10,000 nominees that we received at the summit. So that was good to have that, high in the sky, but feet on the ground kind of conversation. And a lot of things came out. For example, I mean, Adri clearly said, there's no way you can call 10,000 people in even 6 months, You got to find a way to localize it, to have local stewards become more involved or local members. So we are working on that process. Because in a way, this is also it's always a personal relationship. It's a relationship effort. People who trust Herman will answer to Herman, and people who trust Johannes will go to Johannes. So and others. So that's something that came out of the conversation. So we learned from people on the ground, how do you actually get the things done. As importantly, one of my takeaways is I haven't seen any other network of leaders do that, provide a member service with a personal welcome, with the whole team available to really activate and support members. So in that sense, it was a really big step forward. And maybe one thing that I'd like to add that came out of that meeting, Christophe reminded me. So Christophe, Benoit, Grendel, and I, together with Randall Zindler, we started the Regenerative Alliance about 3 years ago that organized some meetings around, it's more the deeper end of leadership. So Regenerative Alliance are now decided to basically fold inside Be for Good Leaders. So they are joining us. I think they have, I don't know, 200, 250 members. They will be invited to join Be for Good Leaders. And they are organizing an event, well, we are organizing an event in Italy, in Lazio, on October 12 to 14 with Satish Kumar. So I make sure that you will get an email, an invitation if you would like to join us. And by the way, on something Lane was just saying, we received basically people who came to the summit really like the wisdom keepers, and they love Satish Kumar. So we need to go a bit more in that direction as well. So this is what this event is all about, is to spend, 2.5, 3 days with a small group of 20 people, 20 leaders with Satish Kumar in just north of Rome in Italy. I'll send you the information. But Christoph, welcome. It's great to have you join us from Regenerative Alliance to be with Be for Good Leaders. And some of you may know, I think Sarah, I saw Sarah was here, and of course Lane, and we all went to this meeting in September 2021 in the Belgian forests, where we went glamping next to a beautiful castle, and 250 of us. And Stephen was there too. It was quite and we want to do 1 or 2 more of those meetings in nature. People also wanted more nature. They thought Amsterdam is great, but you are sitting in a building for 2 days. How do you get more nature? So we're trying to sort of harvest all the comments and do something about them. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there are 2 things that would fit in this agenda item. The point that I asked earlier, maybe there are some of you that want to say how you see your own role, what you would like to contribute, what you think you can contribute to grow the community. So I would like to pose that question to you, and I'm trying to see if Francine is in the call. She was in the call, but now I don't see her anymore because Francine also had a question. She wanted to do a small poll that Daniel and Francine prepared, but I don't see Francine. So while we try to find Francine, I would like to ask any of you to maybe comment on how you would see your own, would like to see your own role, or how you see your own role. Veronique, you must definitely have an ID.
Hi, Lane. Yes, well, thank you. Well, actually, we are already talking about getting the websites a bit more user-friendly, and also a better overview of what all the possibilities are. So that's the role I hope we can support you with for the Be for Good Leaders. And I do think some discussions about the branding and the hierarchy of all the branding would be also very good to start with. But I had that discussion already a bit with Francine.
Thank you.
Hi, Lynn, I'm here. Sorry, I'm
okay.
driving.
Yeah, Francine, I didn't see you anymore. I saw your iPhone, and
Yeah.
Daniel prepared a small poll, I think, together with you. Maybe I can give you the floor.
Yeah. Is Daniel there? Sorry, I'm driving because I need to leave the kids at school. But before Daniel posted the poll, I'm not sure if Daniel is in the call. I can't see.
He's not.
Yeah. What I would like to ask you, we are preparing now the dialogue series for the rest of the year. And we would love to have your ideas, who you would love to see during the dialogue series and also during our events. So if you can email me, I'll put my email in the chat. I would love to share ideas and exchange ideas with you.
Yeah, for all of your information, Francine is our director for the membership program. And she has a small team of people. Now you see her. We briefly saw you, Francine, in the car. We have Daniel we have Svetlana and Priya who work together with Francine, starting with the onboarding, so people that come in as a member, and then to help them in small groups of 20 to 25, and then develop the whole program. The summit, as you can imagine, is one of the parts in the program. So that is a question from you. Daniel said that he prepared a poll that we could show to everybody, but since you're in the car, you cannot activate that, but we will definitely get that question to you. You have to email from Francine. So that is the help that we would need from you to really co-think with us. Yeah.
Yeah, and just to complement, Lynn, I think that's the key piece that we need to focus, because we want to build things based on the needs of our leaders. And you are the best representatives that we can have. So we do need this engagement and your ideas and your passion to move forward and to keep engaging, not only engaging, but inspire other leaders.
So just for fun, I asked Christoph the question before the summit, and Christoph said, Oprah Winfrey and Beyonce. So anyway, it would have been good to know from you whom you really think is an inspiring person to have. And you never know, maybe it become a sculptor or an actor, or we talked about Leonardo DiCaprio, or someone who is really credible, but is working in our direction. So good ideas, crazy ideas, they're all welcome.
Any ideas that immediately jump up in any one of you?
I mean, Matt Damon, I would favor for Leonardo DiCaprio, but I think he would be more credible. But anyhow.
Yeah, it is. There are definitely people that we, from the arts, from the maybe politics, from companies, from both global north, as well as Lisette said, the global south is as important. A very interesting question, Lisette, that we got from one of the new members who is from Ghana, a young woman, and she said, it's a question that you could almost not think of, Lisette. She said, are we as important as the others? And I said, yeah, you all have one vote. But she said, well, are we then still do you listen to us? And even if we have one vote, and for example, the CEO of Albert Heijn, Marit, who is really working very hard to do this, she also has one vote. And that is, but am I then as important as that other one vote? And yeah, it's a question that is, that you can almost not imagine. And that people ask that question, and of course the answer is yes, you are as important, and that is in the trusted network that we're building. So that was new and to them. So that is to show how this could really help to break borders and to bring people in.
Lee, I met Ivan Duque Marquez, who's an ex-president of Colombia, the country. I don't know if you ever cross paths with him. He is a passionate person about environment. And they've done a lot of things in Colombia he was talking about. I think he would be a good person. We were talking about also like presidents and what can be done. You know, they did a lot of, like they're trying to pass laws, and he's quite passionate and a great speaker. I can connect you with him. I liked him quite a lot.
Oh, that's amazing. And I would say that because it's not just give an idea, help us to connect to those leaders. It's super important. So I'll connect with you. Thank you.
Yeah, and I see also from Frida, by the way, Francine, Frida said Brian Eno, the musician. And so all those kind of people, they don't always have to be business people. Maybe even the young woman from Ghana. Those kind of people are all inspiring people that can help us. So if you have anybody that comes to your mind that you know, we have almost 50 stewards, almost 30 founding members. You all have networks, you all know people. So let's try to tap into that.
Yeah, lovely. Very, very kind. You know, Brian Eno, fantastic guy. I think, Stephen, you have a hand up.
Yeah, I have a question on governance. As you know, I'm working in one of the out corners of Europe, which is Portugal. And while for us, this is never an issue all around here, that English is a language we imagine or suppose that everybody speaks. This is not the case in Portugal. So I was wondering if you're thinking in governance to have local councils where people can go, because if you talk in Portugal in English, many do not have the skills of the language, and so they're not interested anymore, because, and it's of course a generational issue, but it's a problem. And so I wonder, just like the Club of Rome, they have associations in each country, or they have councils where people still can meet, and you can include the people for which language is a barrier. There are very good companies in Portugal, but they will never somehow be part, because if everything is in English, they don't have any benefits. That was my question.
Yeah, it is. I can start with the answer. Marcello can definitely add something to that. First of all, we see that issue. Portuguese is different from Spanish. Francine speaks Portuguese because she's from Brazil, and but the point is correct. And we have several stewards who have come to us to say, can we be the initial point of contact in our country? And because we can invite people, we can start setting up a kind of ambassadorship for helping you to grow in our countries. And as I said earlier, Marcello and I don't want to force anything upon any of you, so don't worry about that. But still, we see people who have come to us and said, as steward, can we play a role, for example, in Poland, or can we play a role? Now you mentioned Portugal, Stephen, and the answer is yes. We see that need. We are growing. We cannot do everything at the same time, but we really try to do everything at the same time, Stephen. But if any of you would say, yeah, I would like to maybe host a dinner in, for example, Switzerland with Stephen, or in Austria with Johannes, or in Turkey, then we would really like to set that up. So we see that need to quickly go into the countries, the regions with different languages, Stephen. Good point.
Yeah, and I think that that's also partly what we did with Bilab Europe. Bilab Europe, we went into 9 or 10 countries, every country with its language, you know, Italy, France, Spain, and completely local teams. So it's part of, we haven't done it yet, but we need to put it into our growth plan. Absolutely right, Stephen. Thank you.
I'm happy to do, we spoke, Marcello, with you a little bit. I'm happy to do something in Turkey in collaboration with you, and I'm happy to host in London a dinner. Maybe a collaboration with YPO might be a good thing. I was just thinking now in London. I'm a member of the YPO Mayfair chapter in London. So let's touch base on this separately.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you, Begum. Yeah, wonderful.
Any other thoughts that any other one of you have? We are now running into our final. I keep track of the time. I know you all have busy schedules, so we really would like to end at 9. There is one point that we have on the agenda, as you have seen, and that is our meeting that we have on November the 22nd. I would like to ask Marcello to say something before he starts. We have said that in general, this should be a small group. Well, small means not 1,200 or 1,500 people, but maybe 150 or so. And Nijrode has offered to be our host. Nijrode, for those of you who don't know what that is, Nijrode is a university that was founded, I think, after the Second World War by industrial leaders to train Dutch business people to go international. So it was kind of a training school. It is now a university built around a beautiful castle. And Marcello, I give it to you now.
So Nijrode, several years ago, started thinking about becoming a B Corp. They are a private university, a company, so they can become a B Corp. They're on their way to do that. And the dean and the vice dean came to our summits. In Amsterdam, there was a third person. We know some of the board members. It's a beautiful place. As Lane said, it's a castle with also some very modern buildings. And it is 20 minutes from Amsterdam. So we thought there would be a nice place, a good place to be, to go. So we have, of course, designing the program, finalizing the program. And it's really meant for the inner circle, as well as a few leaders that Nijrode will invite from their business community. Because I know it's a win-win, you know. It's a business school. They become a B Corp. They support us. The dean is very keen on Big for Good leaders, etc. So we will send you the program, and of course you're all invited. We will have a dinner only for the stewards at the end of the day, the 22nd of November. And during the day, basically, we work. We learn from each other. It's a sort of open space for all of us to engage and also concretely build certain sessions for the summit in May. It's and it is definitely going to be a very inspiring day. So we would of course love all of you to be there if you can.
To add something to that, Marcello, the goal is to build the community. That is the goal for Nijrode, for our session. So that means that we are going to talk about topics like the governance, for example. How should we organize that? How can we bring people in? What should be the program on building your leadership or building a better company? We definitely will have the regenerative economy exchange on the agenda. So we have all those topics for all of us to build. So it's Marcello also thought we don't have breakouts, we have workshops. So we want to work together with all of the invited people. We think there will be about 150 people. We invite people. It's not that people can subscribe. We start with all of you. We have a dinner in the castle with the stewards and the founding members. So you all get to know each other live. One thing that struck me in this retreat that we had is that Eric Ezekieli, who left the meeting a little bit earlier, who was in this meeting, Eric Ezekieli said, in the brain, in the human brain, there is a sensor for the location where you are in. So, for example, you, Frida, are not in my location. You are in your location, and the brain knows that. So the brain, and that means that your body is directed in a different way than if you would be in the same room as I am in. So, and that is why quite often, if you have had a whole day of Zoom meetings, you basically are almost dead. You don't like it anymore because you have not sensed other people around you. So that is why we think, and we also promise to you that at least once a year, we want to bring all the stewards together, and we want to bring the founding members together physically, so you can feel, sense, smell, and taste each other. So in a better way. Is there? I see Mark. Is there? Did you want to add something to that? Because all of a sudden you appear on my screen, maybe because you were coughing. But I saw a hand raised earlier by you, Thomas.
Yeah, if I may just ask a question, pardon me if it's asked before. I think that this Be Leaders for Good, what you've done is wonderful. It's and I also see that it will add value for B Corp companies. My question is that, is there a formal relationship between Be Leaders for Good and B Lab?
There is no formal, but there is an informal relationship. There are many informal relationships. And like me being in the board of B Lab Europe, Francine being in the board of B Lab Global, we working with them, but there is no formal relationship.
Thank you.
Of course, as you know, we work with the people that we know, but basically one of the differences is that we want to build a much wider network of leaders, and that we're focusing on leaders, and B-Lab is more focusing on companies and making them a B Corp. So I would say it adds to each other. And of course, there is a great friendship between us.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely great friendship, but I think we see this as a B Corp and beyond. Also, for some of the questions that you have raised, how do you invite in companies that are not quite there yet, but their leaders want to change? And this is how Lane and I started in Rome. We saw there were a lot of companies wanting to become B Corp, but not there yet. And they don't get invited to any of the events. So we wanted to actually make a space for them. So we will, now with Sistema B, I was in Brazil last week, and Sistema B, for example, in Ecuador, they want to come with 30 companies inside the exchange. Brazil also, very, very keen. And of course, with the new government, doing a lot. So all around the world, Australia, we have very good touch with the Australian team of B-Lab. So we have these sort of lots of friendships.
Before we close, is there a burning question from any one of you that I see that others already have left to go to their own meetings? Is there any burning question that